All right, welcome to the coffee break. This is the episode number 95. Thank you very much for joining today. I know this week we have the DevCon in Boston going on. In 2 weeks from now, we have DevCon in Munich. I did ask some of my colleagues that are in Boston to join, if to show us around. Let's see if they're able to. And okay, so as usual, let me move back to you. If you have any questions or topics that you'd like to bring up, any interesting projects going on, and yeah, anything interesting going on. Oh, hi, João.
Hey, what's up?
So I know that Boston is the main thing going on this week, right? So maybe, yeah. So any questions? I do have an interesting, maybe interesting for me at least, topic or question, right? Especially for those of you that are outside of the US or have English as a second language, right? Do you translate documentation? Do you have anything like when you are reading docs for any API, do you translate, or how do you see the use of a translated documentation? What do you prefer to use? Or it's just very quiet? No translation at all?
Hello.
Hello.
Usually I do not translate anything. Only if it's a really specific topic. And so I put in the Google Translator and try to understand better. But I usually know.
Yeah. So you say you use Google Translate, right? So what do you mean by very specific?
Yeah, sometimes you doesn't know some words or some technical words and anyway. So sometimes you need to get some help, I guess.
Okay, cool. Is that useful?
Sometimes, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I think that makes sense. What about when you develop your applications? Do you need to translate them as well?
By default, I only create in English, but yeah. But
Is there a need for localized applications?
for only for Revit, I guess. Only for Revit plugins. I create in Portuguese as well.
But do you manually translate them?
Yeah, yeah.
Would be useful to have different language support, like other languages.
I don't know. Probably not in my case.
Okay. Anyone else has an opinion on that? I'm curious if you develop applications for different markets, and is there any case where translated apps would also be good for your customers? When you download an app from the, I don't know, the iPhone or Android, right? If you can switch the language of the app, right? Same would happen for plugins on Autodesk, on desktop products as well, or cloud, of course. All right, interesting. Thank you. What else going on? Any questions or topics?
I have a question
about
yeah.
Go ahead.
About user profile API.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have some possibility to create others API, like because I want to know, for example, if my user have some specific product like Rabbit, to have a Revit license, something like that. That's the idea.
Okay.
Has something in mind?
Is that for you wanna check if they can install the product? What is the purpose there? Why do you need to know if they have a license for that product?
Yeah, if we have access to Revit, if you have the license, actually.
Okay.
Or at least if you have is a student license, it would be fun as well. So I can give you my plugin for the student without any extra knowledge, at least.
Yeah, so that specific API we don't have to get for a random user what kind of licenses they have. You, I think it's important for you to consider that Autodesk has a few different types of contracts. So if you look at our API, there is something called Premium Reporting API and Token Flex API, right? So those are the two uh, um, how can I say enterprise contracts, right? So Token
Okay.
Flex is typically a very large account. They buy a pool of tokens that whenever someone on the organization uses the product, they actually consume one of those tokens, right? So technically speaking, the user itself does not have license to that product. So when the user log into the product, it will go into the license manager, get confirm permissions and all those things, and then assign a license to that user for that day or that period. So this is just to say that there are many types of accounts and contracts we have. Depending on the account, the license may not be there or will be available on demand. So there are the different scenarios. But I'm curious why you would need to have a cloud API checking for a desktop license. I think that's the question actually.
It's just one thing I wanted in a long time ago to know if my user is using a student license or not.
Okay.
Just to give or could be a Autodesk employee as well, so I don't need to send a key to my plugin when is testing in the App Store at least.
Okay, I
So
see.
this would be a good example as well.
Yeah. So back to the App Store, they have some APIs to help you manage licensing, right? So whenever they sign in on the App Store and download your app, you can check back with the App Store API to see if there is a permission, if they have a subscription valid, all of those things. So
Yeah,
yeah.
but I wanted something for my my user knowing that, like if I if I connect with my user account in my website and I can see what products I can access, for example,
Okay.
or at least or could be the plugins in the App Store as well, what I can download in that. This would be interesting as well. But yeah, it's just because I see that's a new app profile API in the documentation. So I'm thinking some stuff that could be useful, I guess.
So that user profile that API that you mentioned, right, is really about the user information, not about license. Now,
Okay.
I think what you're looking for is more information on the App Store profile, right? So whenever they go to the App Store, we can probably discuss that with the App Store team. I don't have a lot of information there, but I know they are working on better support for the API for the App Store, including some API access. I'll share that with them if you want to discuss further. That could be interesting. So the idea is to have an App Store API that would allow you to have better and more specific information.
Yeah. And I don't know if you know, but I had some plans to have an API to, I don't know, send a plugin to the App Store instead of going the website to update everything. That's some plans for that.
Are you asking if that API is coming?
Yeah, I just...
Yeah, so I know they are working on a few things. I don't actually have the details right now. I can check.
Okay.
Okay, let me look for that for, yeah.
Okay, neat.
I don't have that answer right now, but I know they are working on a few APIs there. I know that we know that how important automation is, right? So we want to do it. All right, interesting. Any other questions or topics?
I have one.
Yes.
Just taking again the issue that we were having with the top folders. And I just want to validate if what we did was okay, was the intended way, or it could be some easier way. So basically the issue, just to remember, is that Stratus has a publishing capacity. So we have an add-in on Revit and AutoCAD where you can publish your model and it will create some links with our system that we need some information, and then it will try to publish the model to BIM or ACC. The issue is that we have a configured path where we need to publish this model. And this path normally when we started basically is the top folder and some path where we need to save. But some clients has the issue that they don't want to give access to the user that is publishing. They don't want to give access to the project files folder because they have more information or something like that. So they will have access to some children folder of that folder, basically. So so we can make this easier. Can I share my
I can't remember we
real
discussed
quick?
that. Yeah, I can't remember we discussed it at last coffee break, and you submitted a report, a support ticket, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I just responded
Did that solve the problem, or is that evolving?
I have not received any response from the team yet, but we work in a workaround. So we just want to make sure that it makes sense. So just to have an idea, before what we used to do was this. We receive the path, the full path. We will take the first folder and treat it as the top folder. So we will search for that. And then we'll go through each of the other folders, of the children folders, and try to get the folder. If the folder doesn't exist, we will create it. The issue with this algorithm is the top folder. Basically, we don't have the assurance, the guarantee that the first folder on the path will be the top folder. So we have to change, and instead of this, we have to make something much more difficult or complex, that it's basically we get the path that we want to search for. And first we need to get the top folder, but we are not sure which will be the top folder, because maybe it's not the first folder on the path. So what we need to do now is to get the top folders and then search for the top folder there. But then we need to take our path, search the first folder on the top folders. If doesn't exist, then search for the second folder and so forth. When we find a folder that has the same name that the folder that we are searching for, we are not sure that that's the exact same folder that we are looking for. We also need to search on the parents of that folder that has the same path that we are looking for. So for example, if we are looking, the issue that we have was project folders, then Stratus. The user doesn't have access to project folder, but has access to Stratus. So we get the top folders, the top folder will get as Stratus. So we will search for project folders, we won't find it there. Then we will search for Stratus, we will find it on the top folders. So now we access to the parents of that folder and validate that the parent of that folder is project files, basically.
Yeah, so it's a lot of a lot of work around, right, to go back to the structure there.
Yeah, basically this to validate because it can happen at any level on the path. So it could be project file, the status, something else, then the folder. So we will need to validate all the parents from there to validate that the hierarchy is the same. So we can be sure that that's the top folder. Now that we have that top folder, then we can return to the old way and just search on the child folders for that folder for the next on the path, and if it doesn't exist, then we can create it. So basically, that was the workaround that we made. But I think it makes the process more complex. The other issue that I'm not sure, according to the documentation or what I get, is once that you have access to one folder, automatically you will have access to any folder within that folder. So the other thing that was afraid of was that what happens is the user has access to that folder, but then maybe doesn't have access to a folder inside that folder, and then down the path it has access again to something else. But I think that is not possible right now. So it's just for the root folder right now. So yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, just for the top folder, right? Yeah, so the problem with doing something that around, like, you go back and forth in the structure, is that you are going to a edge case, not the general case, right? So it may fail eventually. I'm trying to get the ticket that you reported here, but I saw it. Did you find anything interesting there, John, that we can help right now?
Yeah, John will address the ticket. He sent a message today. He's asking for some time to do a Zoom call.
Oh, okay.
Should take
So
care
that
of
was a
that.
bit late then.
He's on our time zone, so you can count on him to address this better. But yeah, that's true. Once you retrieve the folder hierarchy, the first level you have access from the API is a level that the end user has permission. So yeah, if he doesn't have permission to project files, yeah, that's not going to be appearing in there, and that there is no way to go around there.
Yeah, so you probably need to revisit that with the data management team to see why this is happening, right? They should be have access from top to bottom, not bottom to up.
Actually, if the user, let's say, I believe Antonio made the example also. If the user don't have access to project file, but only to folders, to children folders of project files, that's correct, right? Because they can't access everything that is inside project files. That's why the first level they see, the first response they see, it is the children folder. That's actually by design. So.
Yeah, and we need to handle we cannot just treat the top folder depending on the user, because some user could have access to the project folder, some user could not have that access. So the top folder response will vary depending on the permissions of the user. So we need to do that workaround.
Okay, so I don't have an answer right now. I think that we need to dig a bit more. And I'm really sorry it took so long to answer you, Antonio. Let me get with João and Zong right after here, and we get some solution for you. It shouldn't take that long. I'm really sorry about that.
Don't worry, no problem. Luckily,
so,
the workaround seems to be working, at least for the clients that raise the ticket, the issue. So the urgency at least is not that much now, just to be sure that we are doing the things the best we can, and that, like you say, it will work in other cases. So we can handle before something else.
Yeah, makes sense. So I understand the workaround. I wouldn't trust it that much because it's very complex, and anything that is a miss there later could fail as well. So John, can you make sure that we get some conclusion here with Zong? Probably we need to check with the data management team that maybe the top folder needs to behave a bit different in that case, or give us some additional information on what's happening. It doesn't look right to me as well. So yeah, we have to dig a bit more. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I recall from our last coffee break when you brought this up, that was a very edgy, specific case. So probably need some handling on our side to make it easier. We don't want to make it way too complicated like that. All right. Again, sorry about that, and thank you for bringing this up. Let me share something other interesting thing that is going on. If you haven't seen it, we have a hackathon coming up in September. Yeah, September. There are some, this is like typical hackathon over the weekend, right? And there are some ideas here in prize, but it's a focus on education. So if you have like someone out of school that wants to try this should be a fun project for the weekend. And it's happening in September, so could be interesting. Hope to get some help from you to share this.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi, Augusto. How are you doing?
Doing well yourself? Who's there? Maicon?
It's me, Maicon. Yeah.
Yes.
I just have a question about this hackathon. I'm doing my second degree, so I'm able to join this hackathon
Probably.
because
Yeah.
I'm enrolled in a degree in a university. So can I join this hackathon as well?
I would say yes. Don't see a problem there. I think it's education focused, but if you're studying, then it should be fine.
Cool. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to see your project. Okay. Any other questions, topics? So a few weeks back, we mentioned an SDK for .NET and TypeScript. We're still finalizing some of the documentation, but to have that easier for you. But I want to quickly maximize this. I want to show you there is some, we start with some of that with this migration guide that shows you how to move from, how to use the SDK, right? What are the packages needed? This is .NET, and there is an equivalent for TypeScript. The documentation is coming into the dev portal nicely there. We're just missing some formatting thing that is almost done, and but should be available soon. But if you are so that should make life easier when using our APIs. The other things that those SDKs are planned to be consistent, so meaning that we generate them the same way, they behave the same way. So should get better. And I know there is some effort in migration, and very much looking forward to feedback and questions that you may have. Yeah. On the OSS one, which is something that is interesting there, we do have upload, and with resumable upload, that should be more easier for you to use. And yeah, and includes, it's up to date with the documentation and should have everything you need there for those SDKs. That is the .NET and TypeScript already there. So TypeScript is still more work in progress. So if you see that they are still labeled with beta, and the .NET they're more stable. we may have some changes, but everything will be properly labeled. So if you do any breaking change, you see the major version changing. So that should be fine as well. Yeah. So if you're starting a project or starting a new code, that's a good chance for you to use them.
Just one question, or is there will be some documentation about some advanced uses, like for example, right now we handle the response. You know that the API has some limits on the request calls that we can make by the minute, I guess. And if we exceed that, the response came with the time for the next request. So we handle that on our client, and we wait at that time so we can request again. Something like that will be handled also by this library, or there is some example to access the HTTP client or the response so we can handle that?
Yeah, so we did implement some resiliency logic, meaning that if there is a retry, it would wait until that time and retry. There is also error handling and circuit breaker. So it will retry a few times and then exponential back off, right? Will take longer and longer to retry. But if there is a 429, it will handle that. It will wait that amount of seconds and retry.
Nice, great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So we are trying to build that. We know that you have to build that logic every time. So that's why implementing them would be easier, right? So the 429 should be there. But you can also access the headers and the response content as well, and make a different approach if you prefer. It may be the case where you don't want to wait, you want to fail and then come back later, right? So you have a very long wait. Anyway, so give it a try. If you see anything that is missing, include us, provide us feedback. We'll be happy to address them or assess. So yeah. All right, we are almost on time. Any other last minute? All right then. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining today, and hope to see you in 2 weeks. Thank you. Talk soon.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Bye.
Bye. Oh, yeah. Let me have this here. Where is it? Wait a second. And just remind us of the next one. Thank you guys. Bye.